Between the two of them.
The inside of Coates.
Barker gets too heavily involved.
And that's Whitehead and Coates.
Good evening, wherever you are. Welcome along to the Virtual Reality Racing Club World Endurance League series, and it's a great pleasure to be back. Richard John Neal here with you for commentary for this evening's event, and I'm very delighted to be welcome along Charlie Ellis, a Fiesta racer no less, with the VRRC Fiesta Championship last season. Charlie, thank you for joining me in the comms box. How are you doing, fella?
Yeah, not bad. How's yourself? I mean, I'm very much looking forward to for tonight. Of course, the Valencia street circuit. What a place to be racing at! 25 corners, 5.2 kilometers worth of exciting technical sectors. A lot of fast-flowing sectors. It's going to be one to watch for sure.
Yeah, I think so. We had our first street race, first event of the season was back at Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago, and here's the schedule to remind you of that. We had a fair few incidents at Vegas, and I think we might well have the same today. Whether it is as tight remains to be seen. Last week, you were in the company of Scott Woodwiss, who was your guide and commentator around the Brands Hatch GP circuit. Obviously, Valencia this week. Next week, we're at Monza. I've got another guest commentator with us next week. I don't know if Becky is listening, but Becky Aparicio is coming to join us. One of the Formula Women competitors, and also raced in Citroen C1. So I'm really looking forward to welcoming Becky into the commentary box next week. The following weekend, it's we say weekend, it's a virtual weekend, of course, because we're doing it midweek. But weekend is an old commentator's habit. We're at Le Mans, or Scott Woodwiss will be at Le Mans. He's doing that one. Then we've got Spa, and we wrap things up with Zandvoort and Sepang. 2 nights on the bounce with VRRC that weekend, because we've got our mini championship kicking off on the Tuesday, the 1st of July, the official mini challenge one. So that's our calendar. Hard to believe we're already 3 events into the season. And last week, if you missed it, where were you? Where was I, for that matter? Jack Smith took the win with Oliver Gibson second on points, and Chris Blakey third over the 2 races. So well done to Chris, and also well done to Andy Carroll, who took driver of the day. Now, Charlie Ellis, one of the things that you need to do with myself and Steve is to work out who our driver of the round is. It doesn't necessarily have to be the overall winner, but someone who stands out. We'll probably try and communicate that when we're off air, and we often do it on the Discord chat on our phones as well. So I'm not very good at multitasking, as you'll see, but that's something we have to keep an eye out for. As well as the championship standings, which are led by Jack Smith from Oliver Gibson. Lee Piercy is in 3rd place at the moment from Andy Carroll. Chris Blakey is 5th. Then Tom Potter in 6th place from Christian Gillian and Dan Heaps. Scott Bugner, I understand, sadly has left the championship. Scott, if you're watching, we wish you well. And, you know, if you have a change of heart and come back, that will be absolutely fantastic. But we'll miss you, mate. We really will. And hope you get the chance, maybe work-wise or otherwise, to come and join us again. Paul Laramie completes the top 10, so he'll be hunting off the Scots points for sure in this round. Alex Walker, 11th from Jack Dickerson and John Jones. Then Kat Potter. And the last of the point scorers are Sam Walton and Kenny Press. We're delighted to have Rich Hayden with us this evening as well. Rich switching from the co-director's chair or co-commentator's chair into the event. So it'll be very interesting to see what Rich can do in the race as well. So well, it's my first time commentating on Rich in a race. So there we go. Always new ground for us. Here's the circuit. We are on Valencia street circuit, as Charlie Ellis mentioned. It is an absolute corker. 25 turns to negotiate over the really, really hard lap for the drivers to have to work out. And we've got 2 half-hour races to look forward to. 3.3 miles is the circuit. The lap times that we're going to be looking out for from the top drivers are going to be just a shade over 2 minutes. So that's what we're going to be looking for. And the driver that, of course, a lot of them are looking up to at the moment, Championship leader Jack Smith, has, as usual, done the honours with a hot lap for us, which some of you may have seen on social media. But if you haven't, well, strap yourselves in and get ready for a couple of minutes in the company of Championship leader Jack Smith. So we're kicking things off a fairly short home straight, and we're going up to turn 1, which is a fairly shallow right-hand turn, and then down to one of the more technical bits to get stuck in straight away. Another right-hander turn 2, very tight, and then that goes around into the left-hander turn 3. Short straight-ish bit before we get into turns 4 and 5, left and right kink, which we come out of now, and then things start to open up a little bit. Still some turns to deal with, as you can see. Round turn 6, we're going round turn 7 now, which flows very, very nicely until you see the double A buildings in the background. There we go, all the 2 little A-frames, which is turn 8. Nice tricky tight one out of there. So right the way round turn 8. Now, quick flick around to the left again, and then down to the 90-degree turn 10, starting to make our headway back towards the start-finish area, or round about towards the halfway point of the lap. Turn 11 is a tricky one. Then we've got turn 12 and 13, which we're going through now, and then to the right again, turn 14, 15 and 16. Again, fairly much flat out. You can see the curve here. This isn't quite as long as the run from the 90-degree turn 10 through to the chicane at turn 12, but it is a fast section. And then we've got the absolute antidote to that as we come into the very, very tight, almost 180-degree right-hander at turn 17. As soon as we're out of that, we're going around to the left, flicking around there. Next right-hander is going to be turn 19, and then we've got one more big corner. We've got a couple of curves to go, but one more big corner, which is the 90-degree left-hander, which will bring us onto the main straight again. And ready to complete the lap. Here we go, here into the final turn, up and over the line past the pits, and that will complete a lap. The target time for Jack Smith, as you can see, 2 minutes 1.366. Qualifying already underway, and that will be the time that our drivers are looking at. And I'm going to pose a question straight away here to Charlie. Is this a track that you've done in any form? I guess you won't have been there for real and driven it, but have you done any sim work on it at all?
Well, unfortunately, I don't really have a computer, so that sort of just doesn't allow me to be out there on the circuit. But I mean, it's a circuit that I'd always want to watch. Of course, many years ago, we've seen it in the Formula One when they've raced there. And to be fair, it was a track that everyone wanted to watch because it was so exciting. I mean, you can watch the cars going around now. There's so many technical areas that make this circuit so exciting. And going into the race, to be fair, I think Thomas Potter is going to be one to watch out for. Of course, he was one of the quickest drivers in qualifying, in practice, my apologies. So going into qualifying, he's got that upper edge, let's say. He's got the momentum, he's got the mindset where he can say, okay, I might be the fastest out here. Let's go get that pole position. Let's go for these race wins. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting one. Of course, the main drivers at the front as well. Of course, Jack Smith, Chris Blakely, Oliver Gibson, they're going to be drivers to watch out for. Oh, that's a bit of a spin there for one of the drivers. But yeah, I think with the addition of Thomas and his quick times as well as the regulars, it's going to make up for a very interesting, not just a qualifying, but very interesting 2 races.
It will be. They've all been interesting so far. Just to update you, if you haven't been with us, we've basically had 4 wins for Jack Smith so far, and Jack's put it on provisional pole with a 2:01.19, so quicker than the hot lap that we saw. Thomas Potter is P2 at the moment. Thomas has had a mixed bag of results. He didn't have the best of luck getting underway at Vegas, had some issues with his kit, but still managed 7th and 4th, and last week had a DQ in race 1, but a podium in race 2, and was only just passed for 2nd position by Chris Blakey in the closing stages of race 2 on Brands Hatch GP. So that was a really good result for him. Thomas having qualified 2nd last week at Brands Hatch and 8th the week before at Vegas. So he's looking to try and maintain that form from 2nd place. If we look at Chris Blakey there in the black and yellow, as my phone goes off in the distance. I did tell my wife I was commentating tonight, but again, as usual, she hasn't listened to me and is ringing me up. Blakey having a little bit of a spin. Oh, and clouts the barrier as well, does Chris Blakey. And let's have a quick look and see where Chris is. He's 3rd at the moment, so he was really trying hard to catch up with Thomas Potter. I tell you what, though, Charlie, it's really interesting to see how we've got a consistency in the fast runners of the championship here, with Jack Smith, Thomas Potter, Chris Blakey and Oliver Gibson. Lee Pearcey in 5th and Daniel Heap 6th. They cannot shake each other off. They always seem to be at the top of the stack, and I guess a lot of it is down to, you've been having a look at the times of the testing, and it is all, you know, very much like real world racing. The more time you put in testing, the better you're going to be, but we're seeing some real consistency and speed from these runners.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, as well as that, it's not just learning the tracks, it's learning the car. These drivers are going to spend loads of hours just trying to perfect the setup of the car, making sure that, you know, the balance of the car is right. But as you said, the amount of hours and the amount of time you can put on the track, which with being in the virtual world, you can do as many as you want. It really sometimes will shake up the field, but we're seeing here just how professional these drivers up at the front are. Of course, yeah, Jack Smith manages to be consistent wherever we are. If we're in, you know, Valencia, if we're in Brands Hatch, he's managed to stay up there, which is, you know, it's, in the real world, it's very hard to perfect as well as virtual. It's so hard to go to a track and be on the pace straight away, and only the best drivers can. And to be fair, that's why Jack Smith, that's why he's leading the championship, because he's been able to go to any track and showcase he's the fastest. But it doesn't come without a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication, not just to the track, but to the car as well. That setup is really important.
Yeah, absolutely right. And Jack, one of our former champions, a multi-former champion with us on VRRC. His last title was the BMW E36 Cup. And as I say, currently unbeaten in this. So he's very much the target. And in some ways, for a driver, being unbeaten can put a little bit of extra pressure on. We know that Jack can cope with it in terms of what we offer here with VRRC. But Thomas Potter will be keen to try and knock him off his perch. Both of the drivers very good indeed with strategy when we come on to the second race and the pit stops that have to be done. No mandatory tyre change or anything like that. It probably will have to refuel, but the strategy that we've seen from Jack Smith and Thomas Potter, certainly over the last couple of championships, absolutely exemplary. Chris Blakey still in 3rd, Oliver Gibson in 4th. Oliver, as we saw, 2nd in the championship, has had 2 seconds, a 3rd place and a 4th, and then qualifying wise, a 2nd and a 3rd for Oliver Gibson. So we've got 3 minutes to go on the clock. Let's see if anyone is lighting up the timing screen at the moment. We've got orange sectors on that last lap from Jack Smith. Thomas Potter's got sector 1 orange. Oliver Gibson still in 4th. Lee Pearcey 5th. I'll run through the other runners that we've got here. Paul Laramie in 7th from Daniel Heaps. So Paul has gone ahead of Daniel now, our Irish driver, Daniel Heaps. Good to be commentating on Daniel again. Wasn't with us for the first round, so great to have him back. Andy Carroll is 8th. Rich Hayden 9th. Then Alex Walker, Christian Gillian and Kat Potter in 12th place. Catherine, Charlie, if you didn't know, is Thomas's sister. And I was on the phone to Thomas's dad around about an hour and a half ago or thereabouts, talking about some real world racing, and a lovely family. Always great to catch up with them, hoping to see them at a BTCC meeting very, very soon, as they're pretty much only ones I'm doing at the moment. And in the UK, I don't get the luxury of going out to Spain to race. Kit-wise, Charlie, I think we'll have to get Rich to try and talk to you about what we can do for you kit-wise and what sort of deal he can do on kit. So do have a chat with him as we watch Cat Potter doing well and trying to bang in some times. In other news, with 1:49 to go, I had a work meeting today. I work in the finance industry aside from this some of the time, and I had a conference call with a guy in the States who was putting some communications material together, which I'm working with him on. And I said, I've got to go because I'm working later on. And he said, what do you mean you're working? You're working on something else? And he wants to come and join the party as well, but he hasn't got the PC kit. But a guy in the States, and he's got a heavily souped up Mustang and does quite a lot of racing on his Xbox. So he wants to come and join VRRC in the future as well. When he'll do it, I don't know, but we're might have some American representation coming in soon. So the more people we tell about it, the bigger the grids will be. Looking forward to that. Jack Smith still on pole, 1:07 to go. We're looking at Andy Carroll at the moment. And Charlie will notice that I hesitate when I say Andy Carroll because he used to commentate on Adam Carroll in Formula 3 many years ago. You won't have even heard of Adam Carroll.
No, you're taking wrong. I have heard of the Carroll name. I just wanted to say as well, the whole fact that you have another job out of commentating, it's like finding out that Santa Claus isn't real. You know, that has hurt my childhood. You know, every time I've listened to your voice, I'm now going to hear it differently. I'm going to be hearing the finance man.
Yeah, no, it's communications rather than finance, but it's all communications, but. Yeah, finance, learning, training, teaching, all that kind of stuff. I do a lot of stuff with educational charities as well. But yeah, all communications work, which is the key thing, and obviously that's what commentary is. So yeah, there's not enough racing in the UK for anyone to do it full time, unfortunately, or fortunately, because we'd probably get bored with it.
Yeah, we'd always get bored of it. It's interesting, this qualifying though, because of how short it is. These drivers have got to pull it out of the bag straight away because, you know, one simple mistake, especially around a track like this, of course we said the times were above 2 minutes. So if they mess up a lap, if they mess up just one corner, they're losing over 2 minutes plus even more time for a warm-up lap of time, and that can be really crucial to setting fastest laps. But at the moment, Jack Smith again seems to have perfected it, but it's really good to see Oliver Gibson up there in second place, and Thomas Potter, he's there in third. I thought that, you know, with the practice times, he would have been further up there. Maybe the other drivers were sandbagging. Who knows? Who knows in this game? But yeah, of course, I've said it multiple times. But Thomas Potter, of course, we said about the real world. He's a career-driven racer. He's not one of the drivers who goes out to do it as a hobby. He wants to get somewhere, and that's why you've seen him round the Toka area, because that's where he wants to be. Just like many other drivers, of course. We saw each other last weekend, funny enough, and of course I'm trying to stick around the paddock as well, because you never know who you're going to meet, and that's the main thing with sticking in those paddocks, is you never know who you're going to meet. But yeah, of course Thomas and Catherine, his sister as well, both two established karting drivers, and of course have big social media presence, which will ever help in gathering sponsorship and hopefully getting them onto a car grid soon. So very good to see both of them out there. But as we said, Jack Smith, he's looking good up the front, but it's going to be interesting how he gets on in the races, especially that second race with that mandatory pit stop.
Absolutely right. So Jack is very much the target. I'll tell you what, I'm having an absolute IT meltdown today. Don't message me on the phone because that's not working. That's completely scuppered. Right, checking flags out, and it's Jack Smith who takes pole position, and Oliver Gibson second, Thomas Potter third, with Chris Blakey in fourth from Rich Hayden and Lee Piercy, Paul Laramie seventh from Daniel Heaps, Andy Carroll, Alex Walker 10th, Christian Gillian and Catherine Potter completing the runners. A quick ad break, and then we'll have a word with our top three from qualifying. So on to our qualifying podium interviews. Right, guys, I'm gonna make Jack wait. Actually, I'm gonna do it 3, 2, 1 for this one. So I'm gonna start off with the driver in third place on the grid, Thomas Potter. Good evening, Mr. Potter. How are you?
Good evening. I'm doing good.
Very good indeed. Are you happy?
Kinda not. I mean, I had the pace in my bag to get P1, but I'll still take a top 3 finish.
Okay. And how many hours practice have you had on this one?
Too many.
Do you know what, Thomas? I've been sort of dipping in and out of Discord the last couple of weeks. Obviously, I wasn't at last week's event, and I've got to say I've been looking at the times on the VRRC website server, probably sometimes in the afternoon. I mean, I know it's half term now, but last week wasn't half term. I'm pretty sure you should have been doing some schoolwork some of the time.
Well, for that, I'd like to thank Max Wright because he was doing my maths and science homework while I was practicing all the last week. It's very good, but
have you actually got a ringer doing your homework for you?
yeah, but that was only like for that week. But now I can do it myself. But at the minute, just thanks to my mum and dad, because my mum told me something inspirational, like treat this as your job, and you don't want to do bad in your job. You want to do good. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely right. Back in the day, I've had a lot of conversations with parents and young people who need time at the racetrack or need time to do this kind of thing, and schools can be difficult about it. But ultimately, it's going to be your work environment going forward. So I think it's very important that they do support it. Equally, I think you have to try and give a little bit back sometimes as well, and maybe sometimes go the extra mile with squad. Anything you're going to change on your approach in the race from going from third?
First of all, my strategy, because I was gonna just try drive off from the front and put different set of tires on than what I'm running, but now I think I'm just gonna sit behind well, hopefully get Ollie on the start as I'm on the inside, and just maybe sit behind Jack, and then well, I would say hope he makes a mistake, but I don't think that's gonna happen, so just probably wait till pit stops and then hopefully either undercut or overcut and get ahead.
Right, and it looks like you got the super softs on. Is that what you were saying?
Well, that was just to try to trick people, to be honest.
You're going to change that?
Yeah.
Okay. Thomas, great to catch up with you. Good luck for the race, and we'll catch up with you hopefully on a podium interview a little bit later on. Thomas Potter qualifies in third. Second position goes to Oliver Gibson. Oliver, good to catch up with you again, and a nice late lap coming in there to bang it up for P2. So front row with you, bro.
Yeah, it was. I needed that lap because otherwise I'd have been in a bit of trouble. It was just, I just couldn't string it together, and I could have done a 2:01.1, but it's just so hard to put it all together. So, and that would have been pole in the end anyway. So it was all about just trying to not mess up, basically, which is usually how quality goes. But it's just on this track. I don't know what it is. It's just the walls are so close and everything's so. You have to do it so right around this track. So it was just a matter of doing it as the best I can, and I think that's the best I could do. So we got a bit leery at the end. I was pushing a bit too much, but in the end, I thought I was going to be fourth, and I'm second, so I'll take that.
That's not too bad, is it? One of the things that I raised when the broadcast started was, and we were going through the calendar and saying that obviously the opening event was Vegas, and that was a street circuit, and we saw a few shenanigans there with people rubbing walls and stuff like that. How different is it to Vegas, and how are you approaching those differences?
I just like it a lot better. I didn't really like Vegas that much, but it's just a different kind. I don't know how to explain. It's just a different kind of street circuit. Vegas.
It's more technical, isn't it?
Yeah, Vegas has a lot more sort of blind corners and some corners where they're quite long, whereas this is sort of it's more sharp, sort of hairpinny corners. So I prefer that rather than those corners that you have to sort of judge halfway around it. You're like, oh, I don't know where I'm gonna be. So I prefer this track over Vegas, but it's probably going to be carnage. I'm just waiting for that accident over the bridge, and then the whole track's going to be blocked, and that'll be great. But fingers crossed that doesn't happen, and no one ends up in the harbour. So
the reverse is a little bit of a worry, isn't it? The reverse grid. I mean, we've hopefully got enough drivers to realise that they've all got to get through turn one. I didn't watch the start of last week's one, so I'll maybe catch up with everyone on that one at a later juncture when we're looking forward to to race to. But yeah, a difficult track. I think I was quite surprised looking up and reading about it that it was actually designed by Herman Tilke. So I don't know whether he was involved in Vegas, but I didn't actually realise that Tilke was involved in designing street circuits as well. I thought he was just the boring GP proper tracks that he did. But maybe that's why there's a little bit of a flow to it, and guys like yourself enjoy it.
It must be. He did Bahrain, right? I think.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I like that track. So it's quite flowy. So you can. I think there is a bit of element to that in it. It's definitely flow in it. That was the thing in quali. I just couldn't get into the flow of it. So his sort of tracks are quite flowy, and this is one of them. And I quite like those. It's just, especially like with the break now, the first few laps will probably be quite tricky for me. I just need to get in a flow, and then fingers crossed that'll be away we go. But we will see.
Cool.
I'll just follow Jack.
No, get in front of him. You might have to follow Thomas because he's got his. He's changed now. He had super sticky on the tyres, but he's gone on the softs like the rest of you. But yeah, I think he's going to be gunning for you as well. So good luck for the race, Ollie. Good to catch up with you, mate.
Yeah, you too. Cheers.
And we'll see you a bit later on. I'm sure we'll have a podium interview a little bit later on. It takes us on to our pole position driver, and 3 out of 3, Jack Smith. The work goes in, and you remain top of the stack. I was asking a sort of rhetorical question, I suppose, earlier on. Is there? No, we'll ask it for real, mate. Is there any pressure on you? You know, having had the 4 wins, or is it just business as usual?
I mean, there's always a little bit of pressure. I try not to think about it. I just clean slate every race, so I just try to win the race every single time. And if I have a message in the first race, I just forget about it and get on with the race that's coming up next. So yeah, passes in the past. I just head on forward and see if we can do the best we can do. I think that's my mindset.
What was the SP last week? I didn't get to see the start of the reverse grid race, but was that as much fun as week 1 at Vegas, where the seas parted for you and you managed to come through? I mean, that makes it sound like everything opened up. You did a fair bit of thinking and overtaking to get through and exercise some skill, but there were some opportunities, weren't there, at Vegas? What happened last week?
Moses decided he wanted to separate his parting of the seas, I think, throughout the race. So I don't really know. Yeah, there wasn't. I was really looking forward to it. I thought it was going to be like a 4-way battle for the lead, and everyone just sort of fell off. And I was like, oh. So yeah, I'm hoping this time around. I think Valencia's got a few good overtaking opportunities. I think we should have a good bit of racing here. So yeah, genuinely didn't expect to be on the front row. Can't lie. Chris and Tom have been super fast. Yeah, my practice time, I think I did a 2:01.2. And that was like on the edge. So this 2:01.0 I've got, I don't know where it's come from. It was one of them Halo laps, and it just happened to be in quali. So yeah, I'm gonna take it. It was a really good lap. I'm super happy with it. So I think I deserve to be on pole for this one for sure.
Oh, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Banging the work in, getting the lap done. Chris was running you second for quite a long time, Chris Blakey, but then he was on the limit because he actually popped his car in the wall.
I think I saw the tail end of that. I saw a bit of white smoke, and yeah, there he was. So yeah, I had a little bit of a moment. It was kind of like a Max Verstappen at Jeddah moment, right at the last little corner. I was like, oh god, no! But I held it together and got the 0, and it could have been a 0.9. So yeah, very close. But yeah, no, I'm really happy with the lap.
And what I should have made a point of saying at the start is congratulations on another pole. Well done, Jack, and we'll let you crack on with the race. Well done, mate.
Cheers, Richard. Thank you.
So Jack Smith, our pole man. Charlie, let's come on then. Thoughts, predictions for race number 1 based on what you've seen so far?
Oh, it's going to be one to try and. It's going to be very hard to work out because we've got, as you said, Thomas Parter. We've got obviously the front runners. We've got loads of other drivers in there as well. The times are close to some extent. So really, it's going to be about who can get round the track the quickest, which is what racing is all about. Of course, yeah, Jack Smith on pole. We heard him there. He's quite composed, is he? He's not really taken to a fact that he's already got all these wins. He just wants more and more, and he just wants to gain a more advantage after every race. But yeah, Oliver Gibson, he was saying as well, very hard to try and get that lap in, especially with trying to get into that flow. But it's going to be a lot. It's going to be very easy to try and get into that flow now because he's got half an hour ahead of him, but sometimes getting to that flow can mean slower lap times. But let's get ready for racing.
Yeah, the lights are about to go out here for the first time this evening. It was quite a long wait, and away they go. And it's Jack Smith that gets away very well indeed. Thomas Potter looking up the inside to try and get P2. And I think Thomas Potter has done it. Chris Blakey's back in fourth. So it's Oliver Gibson at the moment third, but trying to go around the outside. And here comes Blakey down the inside, and Thomas Potter goes under the goes right over the curbs. And it's well, Paul. It's I think the timing's going a bit mad as well. We've got Paul Laramie up front. So Paul Laramie, where did Paul come from? He was down in 7th place on the grid. My screen is now frozen, but is coming back. There's quite a bit of contact being reported on the timing screen on turns 1 and 2 by the look of it. And yeah, I think we've got a few technical issues going on, but now the timing screen saying that Thomas Potter is out front, and indeed there is Thomas with Rich Hayden coming through in P2 from Daniel Heaps and then Paul Laramie. So we'll wait and just double check up on that for you. There is Daniel Heaps. Indeed, it is Daniel Heaps, the young Irishman, who I need to catch up on what he's been doing racing-wise. Pretty sure he was out at Kirkeston at the weekend, if I remember seeing a little bit of social media. But I didn't go into detail, and this is one of the downsides. And, you know, Charlie, you were saying about you kind of expected me to be doing racing all day. You could actually watch racing and read social media all day. There ain't enough hours in the day to do it to keep across everybody.
No, exactly that. But I think the big loser out of that first lap was Jack Smith, who's there on your screens at the moment. He's looking for a move, but yeah, dropped down all the way to 9th at the moment. He's just making that move for 9th. Gets that done on the NXX. That's the driver who's now into 10th.
I'm wondering what happened with Jack, because he was in the lead going into turn 1. And obviously we saw Paul Laramie coming up the inside, and we saw Chris Blakey coming up the inside as well and going for it. But I didn't actually see what happened with Jack, and maybe it's going to be one if he can get on the podium that we'll find out what happened. But where he's had issues before, and he had some lagging issues at Vegas. And obviously that's not a real world thing that you're going to get. It's very much specific to esports racing. But Thomas Potter here is on an absolute charge and away, and he's clearly had no problems. And that was, I think, Rich Hayden going straight on, wasn't it?
Yeah, it looked like he looked like he forgot to press the brake pedal, but I'm guessing that's not what the case was. I think he had a bit of contact there, but Thomas Potter, that's just going to help him out even more. He's absolutely stormed away from the field. He can already sit down and have a cup of tea if he wants to, because he's got around a few seconds of margin here. There's a battle for second place going on now. There's the number 45 on your screens, and he's trying to make the move on the blue and white Ferrari. You can see on your screens. It's a very close battle here, and this is the battle for second, third, and fourth. Because watch out a bit further behind. That is Jack Smith, who's already up to 4th place. Jack Smith's had a brilliant first and second lap, and this is exactly why he's a champion. It's exactly why he waited.
Oliver Gibson challenging here, so Lee Pearcey in P2 at the moment. I sent Rich Hayden a little cutting of about Lee Pearcey's dad winning the British Championship on the short ovals a few years ago, and Lee's lost 1 place. He's actually lost 2. The 2 brothers have gone past, so Oliver Gibson now up into 2nd place, Jack Smith in 3rd, and we've got a little mini reverse grid race on our hands now, because Thomas Potter, who qualified 3rd, is ahead of the man who qualified 2nd, Oliver Gibson, and then Jack Smith in 3rd place. Now, one thing that the 2 brothers won't do, well, is this the curse of the commentator? They won't take each other out, in theory. They will race hard, they'll go for it, but I'm wondering whether they'll get their heads down and work with each other to try and close down on Thomas, who is in the lead. So we've got Porsche leading the 3 Ferraris. Porsche again with Chris Blakey in 5th position. Andy Carroll is in 6th, Rich Hayden in 7th. I think it was Daniel Heaps that dropped down the order. And apologies if I miscalled that one. But Thomas Potter is there, and let's have a quick look at best laps now. We're getting into some flyers. 204.9, 204.2 for Oliver Gibson in 2nd place. So Ollie Gibson having a good run at the moment in P2 and trying to hunt down the race leader. And Thomas Potter has been in this position. He's one of the youngest drivers. He's still not old enough, Thomas Potter. If you haven't joined us before on VRRC, he's not old enough to race even in junior formulae. And when we were talking to him last year, he was actually too young, Charlie, to enter either the Ginetta JSCC or Fiesta scholarships. And he's still not old enough to race in the junior championship. He won't be until September, October this year. So that's why he's causing a little bit of a stir, because he's putting himself around in real world racing. And I'm not going to say too much more, but you might see him before the end of the year, my friend.
Yeah, but I've seen some news, and it'll be very interesting to see how he gets on further this year. Of course, we saw him. He had that Ginetta Junior test a little last year at Croft, and he looked pretty impressive out there. So, if that's one of the routes he goes down, we'll wait and see what he does. Of course, you can catch what he's up to on all his social media. He does a hell of a lot of stuff throughout not just his virtual world, but the real world. So he's definitely a man to watch out for the future. But yeah, brilliant drive by Jack Smith so far. He's back up to 3rd place. He's trying to now chase down his best mate Oliver Gibson. And then right in front is, of course, Thomas Potter. Now, Thomas Potter at the start of the race, he had pulled that margin, but when you're leading, it's so hard to just keep putting in those laps, because you don't know how you're faring against the other drivers. And as well as that, the slipstream, of course, being this far back, the slipstream can still be a bit effective. But as you were saying earlier, will 2nd and 3rd place here, will they work together and try and chase up to Thomas Potter? It will be a question that we won't know, because obviously we're not in the driver's seat. But you know what? If that was me, I would follow, because you know you can work together, you can use a slipstream, you can bump each other up to Thomas Potter, and then sort of do a 2-for-1. You can both try and take him at the same time. But this man on your screen is Thomas Potter. He's looking good so far, but of course we've still got 23 minutes left, so we're not even a third into the race. But you know, yeah, it's going to be very exciting to see how we get on with 2nd and 3rd place. A bit further down, of course, Lee Pearcey and Chris Blakely round out your top 5. As well as that, you start to see the time difference between the quali and the race runs. Of course, in this race, the drivers are wanting to take more time and be patient with what they do. So that's why they're going to be lapping about a second or two off their quali pace. I mean, we saw that with the drivers up at the front. They were in the low 201s to nearly the high 2.0s in qualifying, and now they're sort of the mid 202s, which just shows that the big difference they have. And of course, that time will either decrease through the time, because of course they've got to look after the tyres, they've got to look after the fuel as well. But this could be a move for 2nd place here, Richard. It's going to be very exciting. Is that a move on the inside from Jack Smith? Yes, it is. Does he get the move done? It looks like he has. So what will Oliver Gibson do now? Because of course he's seen what has happened to Jack Smith at the start of the race. He's seen how he's pulled up and now in front of Oliver Gibson. I think the best strategy now would be to just stick behind 2nd place here and chase down Thomas Potter.
Yeah, that's what they're going to try and do. And I'm going to give a shout out to, I know Thomas is streaming his own onboard himself, and I think maybe he's got a mix going on of people watching that stream and ours. So we'll say hi to all of Thomas's followers that are watching his live stream at the same time. And now we're in the situation really with Oliver Gibson that we have, which is what he was talking about. He said he was going to follow Jack, and he's kind of had that prophecy. He's capable of going past, and we've seen Oliver re-pass Jack in previous rounds, so he's very well capable of doing that. Jack's putting a little bit of a gap between himself and his brother at the moment, though, as we head back and look at this developing action here with Chris Blakey, who was very much on the pace in terms of practice here, and Lee Pearcey, who's no slouch either. And Lee is fending off, the Ferrari fending off Porsche at the moment. How cool would it be to get all these guys in the cars for real? And through goes Chris Blakey. I think it was a little mistake there from Lee Pearcey, or maybe a glitch on his network, but it was a gap for Chris Blakey to go through. So Blakey up into 4th position. That's where he qualified to. He got the top 4, all really where they were. Where's Rich Hayden? He's in 6th place, down behind Lee Pearcey. Lee was qualified 6th, so if there's a change there later in the race, we'll go back to where we were off the start. There is Rich Hayden, so first time to get to commentate on Rich, which is a nice thing to be able to do. Miss his company in the commentary box, of course, and directing us as he has done in the past, but great to see him out racing and enjoying himself as the two chasers try and hunt down on Thomas Potter. You can see the brothers really not actually that much of a gap developing after all now. Oliver Gibson trying to close back in. Thomas Potter, though, with his practice over the course of the week, has consistently been at the top, regardless of who has been practicing with him. So he's done the time around here at the expense of homework, as we mentioned, and he's carried on with that. My screen has come to a halt again, hoping that you can all still hear me. And we'll wait for the server to reset. But the point I was coming to about Thomas Potter is that he will have the pace from the practice that he's done over the course of the week. He will know that he's been on top of the times for most of that week. So he'll therefore know that to be in front is not going to be an issue for him. It's very much the advantage. Although he is being chased, and that will get into his head to some degree. As we get 19 minutes to go, we're sort of heading towards the first pit stop window. And we know how quick the two brothers are at pit stops. But again, Thomas is no slouch on those as well. So there is going to be have to be a little bit of a look at when they come in. I'm wondering whether Thomas will come in earlier and get it done, or whether he'll just use this opportunity now where he's got clear track in front of him and try and build an advantage as best as he can. The last lap for Thomas was a 2:03.3, and Jack Smith was a 2:02, and Oliver Gibson was a 2:02. So they are reeling him in. So I'm wondering whether Thomas might try and eke out a bit of an advantage, if it's at all possible, in his pit stop. Now, if you were leading this race, Mr. Ellis, what would your strategy be?
Well, first, I'd be surprised because I usually don't lead races. But you know,
That's not what you say when you're looking for sponsors.
I tell you, that's something I definitely don't say. Yeah, you know what? I think if I was in Thomas's shoes at the moment and I'm seeing a Ferrari getting bigger and bigger in my windscreen, I'd probably start thinking about maybe coming in a bit earlier and try and go for that overcut. Try and get in, get some quick laps in, and try and jump them. So when they come in, you get straight back into that lead, and you might get a bit of a margin as well, which is exactly what he wants, because he knows, and he's going to see the times, he's going to see the difference, and I bet you his dad as well is going to let him know that the two behind are starting to close in. It's going to be an interesting one, whether he comes in a bit earlier, whether he stays out late. But to be fair, if you want to be in someone's shoes, you've got to be in Jack Smith's shoes, because his strategy can depend on when Thomas pits. Of course, if Thomas pits this lap, he can follow him in that same lap. If he wants to go for an undercut, he can do the extra lap and then come in. That's what makes the strategy so interesting, because there's so many different scenarios and different ways you can go about it. But that can sort of add a lot more pressure to the drivers, and maybe soon we can start seeing a few mistakes. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the leader up front, Thomas Potter, does. But I would definitely not want to be in the shoes, because that's probably the last thing I'd want to be thinking about, especially when trying to navigate around this Valencia street circuit.
I love the timing things that pop up, and you get crash with environment, which basically means that you hit the barrier, have gone a little bit too wide, and that's happened with several drivers. Someone who doesn't appear to be doing that is Rich Hayden, that we're looking at the moment, who's now up into 4th place. So Rich Hayden ahead of Lee Pearcey, and actually on course for challenging for a podium. So Thomas Potter still out front, and thanks for the insight there, Charlie, as well. It's interesting to see what will happen. 16 minutes off the race remaining, so almost at half distance. So the strategies will become evident very soon. I mean, imagining that because we've got halfway on the soft tyres, that the soft tyres will cope with the second half of the race. How much fuel has everybody got on? Did Thomas go out with a lighter fuel load? Will he have to have a slightly longer stop to get him out for the second one? If he was on a lighter strategy, he might have, as you said, he was trying to think about how he could get the pace to get out front. He has done that. Daniel Heaps has had a crash with the environment. Yeah, pit stop's underway, so we'll get a handle on what is happening once everybody comes out. But now it's Rich Hayden who takes over the lead of the race. Rich Hayden, the leader. He'll probably snip that bit of audio with me saying he's in front and use that on his social media, I would imagine.
back's into that and bed now for every night. But I just wanted to jump in because it's very, it's what we were saying earlier. The driver who was in second place, Jack Smith, he can detect when to go for that pit stop because he can watch what Thomas Porter does. He's seen that Thomas Porter pits this lap and has just thought, you know what, let's just go in with him. And as well as that, the driver who was in third as well, he went in as well. So we see that quite a lot in different race series. That you know, just the second that one driver goes in, another two can go in as well. And then at the end of the day, it doesn't come to strategy. It will then come down to that race pace. But the first driver out of the pits, of course, was Thomas Potter. But I think during the pit stop, it looks like Jack Smith managed to close in a bit of time. So now it's just a dash to the finish now between Potter and Smith.
It will be. Still plenty of stops to go, but Thomas Potter seems to have executed that very well indeed. There is Jack Smith. There is Thomas Potter. Thomas maybe gained a little bit out of that. Oliver Gibson down behind as well. As Oliver Gibson lost out a wee bit in the stops as well. But I've got to say, when you see the drivers go in or come out of the pits in the same order in which they went in, you know they have done a great job of going through that procedure, and that's exactly what those guys have done. So it sets us up for a very interesting second half of this race. So Thomas Potter, the leader in terms of drivers that have stopped. Rich Hayden's still the overall race leader from Lee Piercy in P2 now. So Lee's been very strong in this championship as well, with a third and a second place. I just went to look what Lee did last week. He wasn't with us last week. I'm guessing that was work commitments, which it usually is. So last week will be the dropped round for Lee Piercy, unless he has another weekend off. But either way, it'll be zero score will be the one. So it's going to be interesting to check the points here. As I say, with Lee getting a third and a second, and running, not far away from outright podium pace here as well. So Lee, a very quick second generation driver, as I mentioned, his dad a former champion on the short ovals. Great shame that I've never got to commentate on him or most of these guys in the real world racing as well. I would really love to do that. But you can see the gap between Thomas Potter and Jack Smith. For Jack, this is the resumption of the battles before they had the pit stops. And I'm wondering if do you reckon a driver is refreshed after that little break, or does it break up the rhythm, Charlie?
I think it does the rhythm. Personally, it'll break up the rhythm because all of a sudden you're going at the speed, you're going at that constant speed, and all of a sudden you stop, and then it's really hard to work back into it and then come out the pits and be exactly on that line. It's very interesting. It's like going off to do a job, and then you sit down for dinner, and by the time you've had your dinner, you can't be asked to get back up. That's exactly how these drivers are going to be feeling, and I'll take that from experience because I've been through that many times. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think Jack Smith, whatever he's had for breakfast or dinner, it's working out well, because after that incident on the lap one, he's been putting in the lap times. He's been getting up through the field, and this is the best opportunity he's got now with Thomas Potter. All he needs is for Potter to make one or two mistakes, and he's going to be right on his tail. And I think it's going to come down to the last minutes, which we all need to stick around for, because it's going to be very exciting indeed. And Richard, it's going to be an interesting one for those final laps as well. But with this track being so long, it means that there's not many laps to get wrong. So it's going to come down to that pace. Where can Smith find that extra time compared to Potter?
It's going to be thrilling to see, isn't it? So let's have a quick look time-wise. We've got 10 minutes left, so we've got a third of the race to go, and Thomas Potter has led this one from lap one, negotiated the pit stops, came out back in lead position from Jack Smith. Oliver Gibson still third. Rich Hayden's had his stop now as well, so he's fourth. Quick look down the pit stops on the timing screen. Alex Walker's had two, which is possibly for some damage, so Alex will be trying to work his way back up the order. Remember, the reverse grid is the reverse of the qualifying session times, not the race results. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out for race two. But Thomas Potter still there at the moment. What's the last lap? 2:03.06. Jack Smith 2:03.01. Smith again quicker. But of course, he's got to catch and then try and pass, as we watch Rich Hayden having a good run at the moment in 4th place. So Rich is 8 seconds down on the race leader. Here is Jack Smith, again getting a little bit closer to Thomas Potter, but I've got to say at the moment the Flying Teapot is not seeming to be under too much pressure. So are we looking for, is it too early to start talking about a potential race win here? It's something he's done with us before, plenty of podiums, taken a couple of race wins with us at VRRC as well, but this could be upsetting the apple cart in terms of getting one over on Jack Smith. But Smith is beginning to close up bit by bit. Oliver Gibson is not hindering him at all, so Smith can be fully focused on the job in hand, trying to focus on the race leader and close in. Now, I didn't want Jack Smith not to lead, but it does give us a pretty enthralling race to watch now, as the championship leader is really having to work to try and close in on Thomas Potter. So it'd be interesting to see how this all pans out, but he is getting closer, but the clock is ticking down. There's just under 9 minutes to go on this one. And a quick look down for the other positions. Jack Smith 2nd, Oliver Gibson 3rd. Rich Hayden is still in 4th from Andy Carroll, and Chris Blakey in 6th. Lee Pearcey 7th. Paul Laramie from Christian Gillian. Catherine Potter in 10th. And then Alex Walker, I think Daniel Heaps has had some issues. We mentioned that he'd had a collision with the environment. So hopefully Daniel will be back out for race 2. Of course, he'll be nearer the front. And, you know, like Thomas Potter, Daniel is going to be a very difficult driver to beat off the front in race 2. So if we get a good clean start on the reverse grid race, we could be in for a treat on that one as well. As we are here, looking at our 3rd place driver at the moment, Oliver Gibson, trying to close down on his brother in P2. But Thomas Potter still up front. It was all go in the start, wasn't it? But things have calmed down now, Charlie.
Yeah, as we said, you know, the first couple of laps, everyone was going AWOL, everyone was all over the place. But now, yeah, as you said, it's settling down, and really, it's just going to come down to the two at the front. I mean, the times, Jack Smith is only a 10th quicker than Potter. So, I mean, at the moment, that's just not enough to close down on Teapot. But you know, you never know what's going to happen. We've seen it time and time again, not just in virtual motorsport, but in real motorsport. It can always come down to that final lap, and it just means one spin or one mistake, and Smith can be right on Teapot's tail. But yeah, I think Teapot, I don't want to say it too early, but I think he's got this one in the bag, which will, you know, set him up perfectly for not just the second race tonight, but give him that momentum for the rest of the season. Now he's got that win in the bag. Now he knows he can beat Jack Smith the one time. He's going to try and get him a multiple times, because, you know, that's just the momentum and the mindset you can carry after that first win. It gives you so much confidence to just keep putting in the hard work, as we said, trying to take off the homework to focus on getting those hours in on the sim, making sure you get the setup right. And as always, he went in a bit too deep there. So he's slowly starting to make mistakes, but as I said, we're 24 minutes in. Mistakes are going to happen. I mean, these guys aren't robots. These are actual humans racing on simulators. So, you know, mistakes are going to happen, but as long as he can make minor mistakes that won't lose him too much time, I think Teapot's got this.
Well, that's a bold prediction. In your other sim commentaries, have you ever had the curse of the commentator? Have you cursed anybody by saying that sort of thing?
Well, funny enough, this is my first one, so I'm gonna keep to 100% ratio here. I'm trying not to decrease that. But yeah, let's see what happens. Of course, nearly ticking down to that 5 minutes. So we're only gonna get a couple laps left of racing. We're gonna get about 3 or 4 laps, and here we go. These are the top 2. It's really a make or break here for Thomas Potter. He's just got to hold his line. He's just got to take the laps as it comes, take the corners as it comes, and just be patient. Take everything with just a bit more thinking of, you know what, should I go this deep? Should I go this fast into this corner? But, you know what, Jack Smith, he's closing in. Sometimes he's been a bit off. Sometimes he's been a bit on. it's a real game of Tom and Jerry here.
It is, yeah, very much so. Or Tom and Jack, actually, but I know what you mean. I'm surprised youngsters remember Tom and Jerry, actually, but there we go. It's nice that you get that name check. Oh, it's absolutely, that's great to hear. A lot of youngsters go, "Ooh," if I made a mention of that, someone go, "Well, you're old." Paul O'Neill would say that to me anyway, but there we go. Jack Smith is closing in. Jack Smith is closing in, and are we going to get the race to the flag? 4 minutes 42 to go. Thomas Potter still there and holding up very well indeed. Of course, these guys have raced against each other a great deal with us on Virtual Reality Racing Club, so they know each other, they respect each other, and they respect each other's abilities. Jack Smith doesn't need to think about the championship. He's got a very good, healthy championship lead at the moment, so it's all about the race. You heard him say that in his qualifying victory interview on the podium. Thomas Potter was disappointed with his third, so maybe he was a little bit more spurred on, perhaps going into the race to do it. But whatever happens, the Teapot's done a grand job. Catherine Potter, his sister, running well too. Kat in 10th place at the moment, which will equal her best from this competition as well. So Kat will be again on the brother as well, I feel absolutely sure. But it's Thomas Potter that still continues to lead from Jack Smith closing in. He's getting closer. He'll start to pick up the toe and begin to reel in the race leader. We go on board. It's a lovely shot earlier on from Steve where he showed us the overhead shot, the drone shot that we saw, just how closing in goes. And this gives you a great insight as to how tight this is on certain parts of the circuit. And as we say, closing in is always one thing. Overtaking is going to be another at the speeds that these guys do. Thomas still there. Jack Smith in P2. It's got to be between those two. Oliver Gibson is still there in third. Rich Hayden fourth. Andy Carroll is in 5th place. So Andy not going to be able to add another podium to the one that he achieved last week at Brands Hatch. I remember to say last week instead of last weekend, which is good. And here's our overhead shot as well. And Thomas Potter there, you can see, before he got to the braking zone, I've got to say, Charlie, I think that actually looks a little bit bigger than we were probably experiencing or perceiving from the from the traditional track shot.
Yeah, it's a bit interesting. I mean, Jack Smith on that last lap was 8/10 faster than Potter, but then the lap just gone, that closed down to 1/10. So I think what's happened here, Jack Smith has just thought, you know what, I've got a couple laps left. Let's just put this in. Let's put the time in, and let's see if we can close up. He's done the laps, and I don't think it's worked. And on the penultimate lap of the race, I think Thomas has just got to poodle around now and just get to that finish line. He can see it getting closer by the minute. But you know what? If he slows down a bit too much, if he just takes too much time off, it's just going to allow Jack Smith. So we're looking here. We've got a first win of the season that could go to Thomas Potter. We've got another win that would exceed the championship standings for Jack Smith. Jack's going to want this win for his championship, but Thomas wants this win so he can show what he can do. Because we've seen him time and time again over this season. He's been there, but due to other circumstances, just hasn't been able to put in the performance. But this is his real opportunity. He was quick in qualifying, quick in practice, and now he's been given the right opportunity to be up there. And when it matters, in these final laps, he's just being consistent, and that's what you want to be. I mean, looking at the times, he's not quick, let's say. He's in those 203s, which are still quick times, but comparing it to Jack's been a lot quicker than him at certain times within the race. But as well, Jack Smith, he's done 202s, then he jumped onto a 203, and he's gone into 202. Then it's vice versa, where that's going to end up losing you more time. Yeah, you're doing some 202s, that's brilliant, but it's going to lose you more time over the race. But Mr. Consistent at the front, Mr. Teapot, heading on to the final lap of the race now. He's only got to carry it round for one more lap of the circuit. One more tour for Mr. Teapot, and soon it'll be a first win of the season.
It could well be. It's looking that way. And if any of you are doubting Jack Smith here, you'll have seen from the shots that he's been on the edge with it. He's really been fighting the car. You've seen that he's been on the limit, and he's gunning and trying everything that he can to close down on Thomas Potter. So he doesn't want to lose that winning streak. 4 wins on the bounce, and that could well change here as we get our overhead shot again. Lovely, great direction from Steve, just showing us the different angles to help us understand what the gap is. Again, closes up under braking as they go through those S's at turns 4, 5, and 6 now, heading up. This is turn 8, isn't it? I think that they're going down to now. And it is still Thomas Potter out front from Jack Smith, Oliver Gibson in third. Andy Carroll is, bigger than Chris Blakey is now in 4th place on the timing screen from Rich Hayden 5th. And then Lee Piercy. That was slightly different to what we were seeing momentarily on the timing screen. But it's Thomas Potter who is going to grab the first win of the campaign. And he is going to be absolutely delighted about it. He's going to sound a lot more relaxed, I'm very, very sure, on our interview. Is Thomas Potter. Started 3rd, made the most of those early corner shenanigans, which we'll get to the bottom of in our post-race interviews. So Thomas heading back towards the start-finish line now, and will be ready to celebrate with a fizzy soft drink, I'm sure, at the end, as juniors, as you're probably well aware, aren't allowed to have alcohol in celebration. But Thomas Potter is clear. It is Jack Smith in 2nd position, who has piled the pressure on. But Potter, as he goes across the grid lines down towards the checkered flag and the start-finish line here at Valencia, Thomas Potter wins round 5 of the VRRC World Endurance League, with Jack Smith taking 2nd position. Oliver Gibson completes the podium and grabs 3rd place. It's going to be Chris Blakey in 4th. Here is Chris in the black and yellow, being absolutely hounded by Rich Hayden, who's trying to get back on terms with him. And Rich, I thought, was going to go for the lunge there. Wasn't quite close enough to be able to do that. Might have a burst of speed as they go down across the line for 4th position. Here they come side by side. Chris Blakey takes it from Rich Hayden in 5th position. Lee Piercy will be next up. Here comes Lee. So it's Lee Piercy in 6th place. Andy Carroll is in 7th place, flag in 7th place from Paul Laramie, who is next up. He was right up at the sharp end earlier on. Here is Paul. Another good drive, quiet drive from Paul. Hopefully see a little bit more of him in race 2. If we can avoid the reverse grid shenanigans, that would be good to see. But this is Paul for 8th position, rounds the final turn, up and across the stripe. He will go to finish in 8th place from Christian Gillian. I don't think we saw at all actually in that one. Certainly didn't shout him out. And apologies, Christian, for that one. And then Catherine Potter rounding out our top 10. Hard lines to Daniel Heaps and Alex Walker. We're going to take a very quick break, and we'll be back with our podium interviews in just a couple of minutes. Well, welcome back, everybody, and a good breather there for everybody after the efforts of the first race of the day. And I'm going to do it 3, 2, 1 again. So let's have a quick word with Oliver Gibson. Oliver, you're going to be the first person I need to ask. What happened on turn 1?
Not a clue. I'm the wrong person to ask. To be honest, all I saw was just everyone went in. I don't know what contact there was, but it definitely looked like quite a bit at the back. And then, yeah, just people flying off. And then I got unlucky in like turn 4 or 5. I can't remember which, but just clipped the front of my car, and then that was basically the race. After that, I was just picking up little bits of damage all the way through the race. So towards the end, I think my car was absolutely battered. But yeah, I had no idea what happened at the start. But yeah, I made it through the first bit, and then the second bit, I had just a little clip. So I'll have a look.
And obviously you were leading your brother for a little while, but he sort of caught up and got through. And I think he was down in 7th or 8th at one stage, but managed to get through the mid pack quite quickly. And you know, were you trying to race him, or did you sort of wave him through and think you might be able to work together and close down on the flying teapot?
It was just, well, I looked in my mirror and I thought, oh, Jack's there somehow. After I saw him backwards in turn one, so I thought, fair play. And then yeah, just I made a mistake in sort of a twisty middle bit. I don't know what turn it is, but I made a mistake there, and then he was on the straight behind me, and I was like, he's faster than me, so there's no point in fighting it that much. So he just went passing the hairpin, and off he went. And I think we all pitted at the same time, which I was going to pit one lap earlier. I just don't know. I was like, oh, they might go 2 more, and then I'll try something clever. And then they all came in. I was like, oh, great. So, but yeah, it was just a case of trying to get through the race at the end with all the damage I had from my own silly mistakes and wall hits.
I think from our perspective, the fact that you did all pit together, it made the race between the three of you a lot easier to follow. And you all did an equally super job of getting in and out. So you've obviously got that pit drill down to a fine art. Did you refuel as well? What was the fuel situation? Did you have a lighter load at the start, or was it pretty much the same for both halves?
It's pretty much the same. I mean, there's only a few litres different. I think I put slightly too much in, but in the second stint, but I don't think it really makes that much difference. I was tempted to do damage, but I don't really know how long it lasts, the repair time, so I didn't want to risk it just in case I'm in there for like 5 minutes repairing my nose when really it doesn't do much. So yeah, the pit stops is something that I've tried getting better at, because in Vegas I think it was race 1, Jack pitted at the same. Oh, I pitted the same time as Jack, and then he was about 3 seconds down the road when he came out. I was like, great. So I think I've worked on that. I think it's improved, but there's definitely more time in it. I think Thomas had a really good stop, so I need to have a look. And then the start as well. Don't know what happened. It just went away, and Thomas was there. Oh, never mind. That was my defence gun. So just a few things to work on, and hopefully for the next rounds, all will be well.
Fingers crossed. A bit of traffic to deal with. So well done anyway. Another podium for Oliver Gibson. Well done, Oliver. Congratulations. And we'll catch up with you after, you never know, after race 2. So well done, mate.
Cheers.
Let's have a word with Jack Smith. So Jack, pole position, but that was a mighty tough race. But well done on P2. And what did happen at the first corner?
To be honest, I have no idea. I was going into T1, I turned in, and I ended up backwards, so I don't really know what happened. But yeah, it was a great recovery. I had quite a bit of damage, so the fast right-hander at the end, the final sector was a bit rough, and I kept watching Thomas go through there like nearly flat. So yeah, that was a bit underwhelming. But yeah, we tried the catch up towards the end, but yeah, didn't really have much more left in the DK Power Ferrari. So yeah, I think I left it all on the table in that race. That was a pretty full-on race, I think. But yeah, it was a good pace from Thomas, so it's good to see that, and I can't wait for this race.
It does add to the, to the spectacle, doesn't it? Getting a different winner, and sometimes things fall for you, sometimes they don't. And obviously, whether it was a tap or whatever, we don't know for you in that one. I guess it'll be. I hope it wasn't Rich, because he's going to penalise himself on Thursday.
Yeah, we'll have to see what Rich. We'll see what the I don't know what happened. To be honest, I literally was focusing on my turning. So yeah, whatever happened. I wasn't literally in the car. If you had a camera on me, if we had those zoom cameras on, my face it didn't change at all. I just sort of got on with it. So yeah, I wasn't phased at all. It happened, and then we just got on with it. So yeah, we came back P2, battling for the lead even before pit stop. So yeah, really happy with the result there.
That was really good, and again, I said to Ollie, like for us watching the race, for Charlie and me watching the race, it makes it so much easier if you're pit at the same time. And I know you're not doing it for the ease of the commentators or the viewers, but it just showed how equally good all three of you are at that pit stopping.
Yeah, it's pretty nailed on though. I think all of us. I think me and Thomas came out at the exact same gap, which I thought was a bit mental. But yeah, it was like 1.4 seconds as we came in and 1.4 on the way out. So yeah, pit crew did good there. But Yeah, no, it was a good little run. And yeah, I just had to pit on that lap because my tyres. I don't know what's going on, but I think the Ferraris on this round, the rear tyres just fall off big time, and then the Porsche seems to hang on a little bit longer. Whether that was the damage or not, I'm not too sure. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens on this race, and I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun.
You've got a bit of deja vu coming up because you're starting 12th and you've got Ollie alongside you and Thomas up front. So if you have a lightning quick start and you get ahead of them, then it won't be deja vu. But are you normally a quick starter from the rear, or do you exercise a little bit of discretion?
I mean, you can't just take chances, especially at turn 1. Yeah, I'll just try and weave my way through. Hopefully there's no big collisions. I like to have a battle all the way through rather than just passing people off the track. Be a little bit more fun. But yeah, no, we'll see what happens. Not going to go gung-ho, I think. It's probably a bit premature to do that at the start of this race, especially at Valencia where there's just walls, no runoff or anything. So yeah, we'll see what
There was a lot of collision with environment reports coming up on that one.
Yeah,
it did make me laugh when I first saw that. I don't know why I hadn't clocked that before, but
yeah.
Okay, well, anyway, Jack, well done. Still get to talk to you on the podium, which is good. So, and it's hardly any points dropped, is it? So, well done, and good luck for race 2. I nearly said race 3, race 2.
Yeah, nice one. Cheers, Richard.
Jack Smith in P2. Let's have a word with our winner. We did the reverse order for qualifying, and it means we had to wait a little bit longer, didn't it, in terms of the race? Well done, Thomas Potter. How are you feeling?
Absolutely amazing, thanks.
Well done. Well done. Great race. Just tell us what your thoughts were about how the race unfolded.
Well, on the start, I was just fully trying to keep Ollie to the outside, and then all of a sudden I just got hit from behind, but I'm not quite sure on how that happened since Ollie and Jack no clue. But after that, I was just, I'm in the lead, I'm just going to drive.
So do you think you picked up a bit of damage as well from that contact?
I had a yellow, like a dark yellow from bumper. Then later on in the race, I decided to go into a wall and have a red rear wing. But other than that, no more damage.
Okay, well that's pretty good. And obviously, this is. I made the comment when the race was on that we'd seen you. I'd sort of seen your practice times over the course of the week, and you'd been on top. So, did you feel any pressure in that race with Jack trying to close in and get you?
Honestly, I wasn't even looking in my mirrors or even at the gap. I was in the middle part. I was just kind of like slowing it down because I knew I had a gap, obviously. Because I looked at about 3 times during the race, and as soon as I looked at the 3rd time, I saw he was within a second. So I decided his tyres are probably going to be dead. So I'll just push on and try to build up a gap again.
Do you get any time to talk to your sister in between races? I'm not sure whereabouts you are in your house, whether you're sort of adjacent to each other or different rooms. But any advice for Kat? Starting off pole position in race 2.
If she could defend everyone, that would be quite nice. But I feel
purely.
Family is when I crossed the line, I screamed, but forgetting my sister's in the room directly next to me and still going around the track.
Oh right, so she is actually literally next to you in where you are. Just trying to get a picture of the Potter householder right now,
Yeah, she's just technically right in front of me, but minus the wall between us.
Right, got you. But is she enjoying it as well? Enjoying the series?
Yeah, absolutely, she is. She's loving this one as well as the fact that there's prizes that everyone wins and just the top 3 she is really happy for.
That's true, actually. I hadn't mentioned that. I don't think Charlie knows that as well. What I'm going to say, though, Thomas, is well done on the win, because we're counting down. We've got a minute and a half to go before the next race, so I'll let you go and give you 90 seconds back to get ready for the charge through the field. Thomas Potter, very well done on the first win in the WEL League with us, and good luck for race 2.
Thank you.
Yeah, really good point that Thomas made there, Charlie, is that there are prizes in this, but basically the more points you get, the more raffle tickets you get, and you can win a prize, whether it's kit or goodies or whatever. There's loads and loads of stuff going on. We're already getting ready to go racing here. So Catherine Potter on the front row of the grid will next door to the race 1 winner. Will lead them away. Got a little bit of break up on my screen, so apologies if I can't quite call this as well as we can. Daniel Heap's having a good start there and going on to the outside. It's Daniel making his way round into P2 with Catherine Potter leading through. It's a good start from Catherine Potter there. Good assured stuff off the line and holding her nerve well through turns 2 and 3 as well, coming down towards turn 5. So a cracking job as we pick up on Paul Laramie, who is there in third place at the moment as Daniel Heaps goes for the lead. And Daniel through, he's going to make the pass, and Cat Potter's holding on still side by side here. Great racing from the pair of them. Let's see if Cat can hold on. I think Daniel's got the line into the next corner on the inside, and it is the number 9 car that goes through into the position. So it's Daniel Heaps, Cat Potter. Paul Laramie is in third. And I tell you what, they've executed a very, very good start there. Have those drivers. Now it's a blue and white Ferrari in fourth, which I guess might be Rich Hayden. Apologies if I've called that incorrectly. But Daniel Heaps, like Thomas Potter, is going to be a very difficult driver to catch if they let him get away. And of course, the thing with the reverse grid race is that while the other runners are trying to work their way through the field, the gap out front can be extended. And you know, we've just seen Thomas Potter win a fastest off the front race. But he learned his craft here very much by making the most of reverse grid races and tyre strategy, and that's what Daniel Heaps will do with this as well. Daniel, no stranger, of course, to VRRC podiums as the battle for third place goes on now. And it's Lee Pearcey. It was Lee Pearcey in fourth position. I beg his pardon. And there's a little tag there. Catherine just tagged Paul Laramie, and Lee Pearcey collected up in that as well. It's unfortunate. Another car hit there, possibly. That was Rich Hayden. But, well, I spoke too soon about a good orderly start. But I'll tell you what, by and large, it was a good orderly start. And Paul Laramie now is out front from Daniel Heaps. Chris Blakey, Rich Hayden in fourth position. Oliver Gibson is now up into fourth place from Rich Hayden. Rich Hayden, in fact, going back on the timing screen as it sorts itself out. So... early doors here, a couple of minutes into the race with Daniel Heaps still out front from Chris Blakey in P2, Rich Hayden third. Then Oliver Gibson we're looking at now in the 45, looking to try and get up onto a podium. This could be a very good opportunity for Oliver to get some points back on his brother. Christian Gillian is next up. Nice to see Christian having his go towards the front here in the reverse grid race. Let's see what Oliver Gibson can do. And all of this time, I've been very rude and cut out Charlie. So, Charlie, thoughts on the first lap or so?
Yeah, very exciting from Daniel Heaps. He got into to lead the race straight away. I'm also loving his livery, by the way. It's sort of like a Lightning McQueen-esque. And it seems like Terminator is dragging him along. It looks like he's got a 5-second gap so far, which is pretty impressive so far. You can just see the driver in second place there, Chris Blakely. He's there, but yeah, so far Daniel Heaps had a brilliant start to the race. Of course, that battle for third is still going on between Rich Hayden and Oliver Gibson. Gibson's had a good start. He's knocking on the top 3, but whether Rich Hayden will let him through, we'll have to wait and see. I know Rich Hayden isn't always one to let a driver through, no doubt about that. Chris Blakely seems to be one of the fastest drivers out on circuit. But yeah, as you said, Daniel Heaps, brilliant start. Here is Smith on your screens. Actually, that might be the battle for third, actually, between Gibson and Blakely, actually. That is the battle for third. So, some exciting stuff going on there as we have a little glitch with the screens. They're trying to get back to us. All going AWOL, but we are still going to pass it along. There is Rich Hayden on your screen. So, he's lost out to third place, and Oliver Gibson is through. So, Gibson... who's starting near the back of the field. He's into that top 3 now, and he's going to start chasing down the 2 drivers up at front, Chris Blakely and Daniel Heaps. But 2 very consistent drivers, so it'll be interesting to see how they get on. But as you said, Daniel Heaps, he's definitely the one to watch out for at the moment.
Yeah, he's had a great start, hasn't he? But yeah, Chris Blakey will be keen to try and close him down. Chris was our F4 Cup winner, so our single-seater champion. That was our last championship that we ran with VRRC. Wasn't broadcast, a few things being sorted out, but Chris did an absolutely super job, and congratulations to Chris on taking that one. So championship winning form for him. The likes of Andy Carroll, 4th in that championship, and 3rd in our previous touring car event as well. Now, while I was looking down at my paper, I saw the tail end of a car. Was that Chris Blakey's car?
Like Chris Blakely, he was in second place. He's now not going to be in second place. That's inherited Gibson up to second, and Rich Hayden onto the podium.
He has. He's got a foot on the podium. So just as I was bigging up, that is the curse of the commentator, Charlie. Just as I was bigging up Chris Blakey, saying that he was our single-seater F4 champion, and then something happened again, possibly a glitch, maybe just a little moment on circuit, but very sadly Chris is out of it. But Oliver Gibson, from third from last, has worked his way through up into second place in just 2 laps, which is pretty good going. And now he's got Rich Hayden busy chasing. Now Jack Smith's actually showing in P2 as well now, so on the timing tower. So how correct that is or not, I don't know. Let's just have a quick look on the actual timing. It's Heaps from Gibson, Hayden, Jack Smith 4th, Thomas Potter is 5th. So our race 1 winner, Thomas Potter, who's very clearly getting some momentum coming through as well. Trying to work out who didn't start this one, because we've got 11 cars, including Catherine Potter, on circuit. I'll probably have to work that one out afterwards. And there is Thomas in 5th position at the moment. Jack Smith behind him for now. It was interesting to hear, obviously Jack had the damage that he reported, but Thomas had got clouted as well. So I'm wondering whether they both did have damage from that previous race. It'd be interesting to see whether they can climb up a little bit more. And this again is working out absolutely perfectly for me, because we've got, we're only 5 minutes into the race, and we've got a really fascinating scenario here with Daniel Heaps out front, Oliver Gibson in P2. So a chance for on-track overtaking, and also possibly overtaking through the pit stops as well. So I think we'll probably see a mixture of the two occurring before we get to the end of this.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how these all get on, especially with those pit stops that are coming up. Of course, 22 minutes left on the clock, so they'll be coming up about 7 or 8 minutes time. But when these drivers take their pit stops, we don't know. We're just the commentators. We're just trying to provide the best action for you. Here on your screens is Oliver Gibson. Now he is in second place at the moment. He is lapping quicker than Daniel Heaps, 7/10 faster than Heaps on that last lap, so slowly closing him down, but it's still quite a bit of a margin between the two. Rich Hayden is still keeping in there in 3rd place. He's not doing bad for an old man. Jack Smith there in 4th as well, so he's slowly closing in on the others, on these top 3 as well. As I said, Potter there in 5th. There is the NXX on your screen, so that's a bit of battle a bit further down. That's Andy Carroll, who's having a good battle with Christian Gullum. That's for 6th. So that's sort of black car who's in front. That's the driver who is in 6th place.
Yeah, good to see Christian Gilliam. We didn't really get to see Christian in race number 1, so great to see him getting stuck in this one. And Christian in the Mustang. So interesting choice. Once you make your choice, you can't change cars halfway through the campaign, as Rich explained to us in the opening round. We did a little bit more in terms of explaining for our opening event, which was, as we say, at Vegas. Next week at Monza. So, very much an antidote to street racing, isn't it, Monza? I'm looking forward to that event and what that brings. And that's Thomas Potter, isn't it, in the wall?
Yep, that's Thomas Potter, who was in 5th place. He's going to drop down a couple places now, down to 8th place at the moment. So that is not what Potter needs, especially for those championship points, which by the end of the season will be quite useful when it comes down to these small mistakes. So unfortunate, really unfortunate for both of the Potters as well. Catherine Potter, who's down in the at the end of the top 10, really unfortunate. Of course, had that trouble at the start of the race, so she's going to try and just keep building on the momentum that she's slowly picking up. Of course, Thomas Potter was talking about it in that post-race interview. Is that I got very very close between the Mustang and the NXX there, but. Thomas was saying, Catherine, she's enjoying the championship, still learning the ropes, and slowly she'll start picking up the places. Of course, with endurance racing, with these GT3 cars, you don't learn everything in one day. It's not as easy as that. You've got to, especially in these competitive championships, you've got to work down to every bit of the car. You've got to make sure the balance is right. And the setup overall, it works not just for the track but for yourself, because every driver drives differently, As this battle is getting very tight. Looked like they were going to take each other out at one point, but they're all keeping four tyres on the tarmac and keeping themselves going. Of course, this is the battle now for the top 5. They were battling for 6, but with the inheritance of Thomas Potter, this will be the battle for the top 5. We haven't really spoken much about the driver up at front, Daniel Heaps. He's still holding a pretty good advantage from Oliver Gibson. There he is on your screens, Mr. Heaps. Not driving too bad for the time being.
No, he's doing well. Of course, again, one of our younger drivers, still in terms of learning his craft. I think doing an apprenticeship with in engineering is Daniel. So very quick peddler. He's in the real world does a lot of drifting. So car control absolutely coming naturally to him now with the amount of drifting that he does. And here, I guess, is the antidote for him. So he's really having to think about what he's doing here. Completely different discipline, but doing a super job out front is Daniel Heaps from Oliver Gibson, who's trying to reel him in. Back we go to the Mustang and Andy Carroll battle. So this is great. Christian Gillian here has done a really good job of defending this 5th position. And while he's defending, of course, he's not staying close enough to Jack Smith to be able to challenge for 4th, but he really is fighting for 5th place, doing a mega job. And equally, Andy Carroll doing a good job of closing and challenging. And you see Carroll there, thought about going down the inside, then went back to a slightly wider line to gain a little bit more momentum through that complex. He's going to do the same here again. And we'll see whether the wider line in gives him a bit more momentum to perhaps tee up a move into the next corner. Isn't quite room to do it. So again, he goes wide as they go under the bridge. Pulls out of the slipstream. He's going to try and find a way through here. Pulls level with Christian Gilliam. They're side by side, but Christian's got the run down into the hairpin and on the way out. But Andy Carroll's going to try and go for the crossover. But Christian Gilliam holds on again. The Mustang doing a super job. Well done, Christian. And well done, Andy. Great racing. Andy's teammate, of course, Scott Bugner, not with us today. I do hope, as I say, I hope he can be persuaded to come back. Probably more of a, by his own admission, in previous series when we've spoken to him, more of a front-wheel drive competitor is Scott Bugner. So we do miss him from our Wednesday nights, and all good learning experience for him if he were to come back and race with us. So again, little shout out to him, and he'll be cheering on Andy Carroll here, who makes the move down the inside, finally makes it past Christian Gilliam to take that 4th position. Lovely move there, perhaps move of the day for Andy Carroll. So up into 4th position. So it's Heaps from Gibson, Jack Smith now 3rd from Andy Carroll, Christian Gillian, Rich Hayden down in 6th. Let's see whether Christian Gillian, you can see the Mustang doesn't quite look as aerodynamic, does it? But it's certainly doing the business around here. Nice turning there from Christian, trying to get back on terms with Andy Carroll. This could be a good points call here from Christian Gillian. He's been he's been in the top 10 in all of the races that we've had so far. Started off at Vegas with a 9th and an 8th, and improved on that last weekend with a 6th and a 7th. He could be on for essentially his best finish in the championship thus far. Rich Hayden has pitted, which is why we lost him out of the top 4. Thomas Potter has done a stop as well. So in terms of the drivers that have already done a pit stop, we've got Rich Hayden leading the groups. Andy Carroll grazes the environment, loses out the position. Christian Gillian back up into 4th place here while I was looking at the timing screen. So Christian still doing a fantastic job here in 4th place. So it's Heaps, Gibson, Smith, Christian Gillian. We're down to 16 minutes remaining. So Charlie very much now into pit stop territory as we catch up with Rich Hayden, who took an early stop. I tell you what, that might have been a master stroke for him.
Yeah, he's going to be very quick these next few laps, but then it's going to counteract. So when he gets to the closing stages of the race, he's going to start to struggle a bit with those tyres and having to manage a few things around the car. But you know what? It could pay off. We'll just have to wait and see. Of course, we've still got 15 minutes, so we're halfway into the race now. Here is your leader still for the moment, Daniel Heaps. The question is, when is he going to pit? Will it be this lap? Will he leave it another lap? It's all going to be down to how he feels with the car. Does he feel like the tyres are still with him? Does he feel like he can still do that extra lap and we won't lose too much time? I mean, the times at the moment, he is still looking somewhat somewhat decent. I mean, Jack Smith, he's now into second place because I think Oliver Gibson may have gone into the pits. Actually, I don't see Oliver Gibson on the timing screen, so I wonder what has happened to Gibson there. But Rich Hayden, who said he's in second place, he's going to be looking to try and make some moves. Yeah, the battle for second place is actually going on here. Rich Hayden and Jack Smith. Looks like Jack Smith he tried to get on the inside, but went a bit too deep. Hayden gets to move back and gave a bit of a margin. But yeah, it's going to be interesting now to see where everyone is, because as the closing stages of this race, we're going to have pit stops that come into effect, and then obviously with the new tyres going on, some cars can adapt to the tyres quicker. Which means that some drivers are quicker when the second they get out of the pits than others, but then throughout the race it can change, and that's when the difference in cars really comes into effect. Of course, the GT3s, they can say they're around the same pace, but really they all act in different ways. They're all different cars, different manufacturers. So especially with the game model, the simulation here is really accurate to how the cars are in real life. So it does mean that they're going to get an actual representation of what the car is going to feel like as the tyres wear off throughout the race. But this battle for second is going to start getting interesting. Of course, this battle between Rich Hayden and Jack Smith. Jack Smith, who is trying to get a win tonight. It will be very exciting for the championship if he ends up not actually winning a race tonight. But Rich Hayden, he's putting up a fight and he's going to stick there, whether he comes into the pit or not. Well, he shouldn't, because he's actually taken the pit already. But yeah, Rich Hayden, he's defending for his life at the moment.
He is. This is a great race between the two, and this is now for the outright lead because Daniel Heaps has come in for his stop. We'll see whether Daniel can effect a quick stop and get back out in front of these two. But there has been a fair amount of contact between the two. Whether it's server related or not, I don't know. Rich, I know, will adjudicate as fairly as he can in the replays, and I think Rich knows that Jack Smith is not an aggressive driver by nature. So whether all that will change results as we get into next week, we don't know, but we'll just focus on what's going on circuit now. And Rich Hayden's still there, but Jack Smith is all over him. He's going to have a look here at the outside run, and Rich goes over the curb, so there was room to try and get through. But a cracking battle we've got on for the it's not the lead anymore, because Daniel Heaps has come out of the pit still in front. So Daniel Heaps has done a super first stint, great stop, and is in front. And this battle for second will probably help Daniel as well. Pretty sure Daniel hasn't had a VRRC outright win. He's definitely been on the podium, done podium interviews with him. So it will obviously be a first win of the series. But exciting that we might get the opportunity to chat on the podium to a different driver. Let's not jinx him yet. As Charlie said, I don't know what's happened to Oliver Gibson. It's maybe had server problems. I wonder if he's had server issues or bandwidth issues, whether that would have affected his brother Jack as well. So because they do it at the same property, a race on the same property. So remains to be seen how that plays out. But Rich Hayden's doing a real good job here, isn't he, of defending?
Yeah, he's doing a brilliant job, especially from Jack Smith, who, we can honestly say is one of the best drivers in the series, and he showcased that with his wins. As I said before, it'll be very interesting to see how he'll react to maybe not getting a win this season. Well, not this season, this weekend. He's got plenty of wins this season, but if he can go out of Valencia without a race, I wonder what that will do for his mindset. Because obviously, from my experience as well, after having a bad weekend, it can really mess up your mindset, your focus to going into future races. So how he'll work against that, we'll wait and see for the future rounds coming up. But Rich Hayden, he's still putting in a solid effort. But Daniel Heaps at the front, he's looking good so far. Of course, the timer is still ticking down, 10 minutes on the clock. So we're getting into the final stages of the race. Just a few laps left to go, but here he is on your screen. So number 9, as we said before, Tomater, he's dragging him along for the ride. He's taking him hopefully to the checker flag soon, if commentator's curse doesn't affect his driving. But yeah, Daniel Heaps, he's the man to beat at the moment. But it's quite interesting to see how the drivers who were quick in the first race, They've been struggling quite a bit in this race. I mean, yeah, Jack Smith, he's been up there, but he's not putting in the times. He's not putting in the laps that he was in that first race. I mean, the reason why we have no idea. Thomas Porter's back into fourth. That's great to see. He's going to be trying to work down on his top three. Here he is on your screen. So that very distinctive livery. Got the teapot on the side just for good measure. And Alex Walker into the top five. So well, Alex Walker, that'll be a good result for him if he can finish in the top five. Here he is on your screens. Very nice livery as well. I think these drivers have invested a lot of time into their liveries, which is also important when circulating around the track.
If you're watching VRRC for the first time, Charlie makes a really good point about the liveries, and if you enter the championship, then the VRRC can help you with that. We've got a really good team that put together the liveries and can make suggestions for you and put your own ideas into what you will see on screen. So there are some really great examples of that going in there. But yeah, great spot, Charlie, in terms of seeing Thomas Potter coming up into fourth place and Alex Walker into fifth. We're going to struggle, I think, on a driver of the day for today. As I say, I can't pick up the messages, so we might have to ask Steve to delay allowing the drivers into the interview so that we can have a very quick discussion about who is going to get that today as we head back to this scrap now. And Jack Smith is looking as close as he ever did now to getting P2 on the outside run here of Rich Hayden. They're still side by side and the Ferrari side by side, but Rich Hayden's got the inside run here, and you can see how clean that bit of racing was. And I did mention there was contact between them earlier on. Sometimes it happens as a result of a server glitch or a little bit of an outage or something like that, a little bit of lag, but you can see when they're going for it, good clean racing. There was space on the outside run there. It wasn't doable by Jack Smith, so he'll stay back in third place as Daniel Heaps continues to lead with 8 minutes 35 to go. This is going to be the longest 8 minutes of Daniel Heaps' esports career, I would imagine. But he'll be delighted that this battle is going on, because this isn't doing either of these two drivers in second and third any favours in terms of being able to close in for a win. It's been said many, many times that, you know, if you're battling, you're slowing each other up. Clearly, the drivers never get the emails, to quote my good friend Andy McEwen, an ex, well, not an ex, still a VRRC commentator, actually. I hope he'll come back and join us at some point, Andy McEwen. But he would be first to say here, the drivers haven't had the email about working with each other and trying to close down the leader and then sorting it out. And we've got a bit of a gap now. So Jack Smith is almost not having a breather, because he doesn't do that, does Jack Smith. But he's lost a little bit of ground on Rich Hayden for the moment. And we'll have to try and regroup and get his energies back up and running here. Closes up again, as you would expect, under braking. And comes out of that final turn 23, and tick off another lap down towards turn 1, round turn 2, and then flicking in the other direction to go up into turn 3 and down towards turn 4. This is all about whether Jack Smith can get up into second position here ahead of Rich Hayden. This is Rich's first racing event of the campaign. He's been helping us out with co-coms on round 1 and just helping out with Steve, our excellent new director, getting to grips with things. Thomas Potter still in 4th place, and a little way down is Thomas Potter. I'm not sure he's going to be able to convert into a podium, but Thomas will be a contender for driver of the day, as I think will be Daniel Heaps if he takes this win, because he's read the start very well indeed, got his head down, and thus far as I've seen, we haven't seen too much of him because he's been on his own, hasn't put a wheel wrong so far. Still got 6 minutes to go, but he's done the bulk of the hard work, as Jack Smith again tries to close down on Rich Hayden. In some of the other races that we've had where they've had to change the compound of tyre, they don't have to in this series, but in other races where they've had to, we've seen a lot more differential on times over different parts of the races. Jack Smith is going to have another gun. I'll come back to the point I was making in a minute. And Jack having a go, and he could have a good run here, but it's the outside run again. Takes the wide run into the hairpin. Trying to think about equating that to the run up towards Druids at Brands Hatch. And the next corner at Brands Hatch is Graham Hill Bend. That's effectively what Jack Smith had to work with there. So the outside run, if he'd been able to get enough momentum, would have given him the inside for the next corner, but it didn't work. Rich Hayden doing a grand job here, but again, Jack trying the outside, not doing any dummies or anything like that, and he just can't dishevel that second place car at the moment. Daniel Heap's last lap was a 2:03.4 and 2:03.4 for Rich Hayden, a 2:03.1 for Jack Smith on something of a catching up lap, and Jack Smith's finally got through. Typical. As I look at the timing screen, look away for a moment, and Jack Smith makes it back into P2. Good move, Charlie.
Yeah, that was brilliant. I was going to say, I didn't realise Ferrari made buses, because Rich was making that Ferrari as wide as a bus, but looks like he took the wrong turn. It's very hard to look at these maps and try and work out where you're going, but yeah, it seems like Hayden took the wrong turn there and allowed Smith to get through into second place. So, yep, consistent for Smith. He's going to have 2 second places if he can hold on to this at the end of this round, and that will take him quite well into the rest of the rounds. Of course, he's had those wins, but getting these consistent podiums will take him on. Of course, we've got a little bit of a timing glitch there, but we're back and still going. But yeah, as we said, Daniel Heaps, here he is at the front, the number 9. That Porsche has been pretty dominant so far. Of course, 3 minutes left on the clock, so he's going to get 2 or 3 laps left. And it's just a cruise to the victory now. I mean, he hasn't got much to worry about except for keeping those 4 tyres on the tarmac. Oh, it got a bit sketchy there. He's going to try and not do much of that because he wants to keep it as smooth sailing as possible. Of course, he's going to try and keep putting the laps in, but just bring it down a notch because, don't want to make a mistake, and it would be quite silly if he did in these closing stages. That battle for second, yeah, pretty good between Smith and Rich Hayden. There they are on your screens. Smith's got a bit of a gap, so I think he's going to pretty much seal that second place. And Thomas Potter, I mean, what could we say? He was there, but of course made that mistake. And without that mistake, would he be able to be in this battle for the top 3? That was another question for another day. And I bet you Potter will be a bit annoyed about this one. I think he knew he had a podium in the bag because we know, obviously, from the post-race interview, he was looking at chasing down that top 3. He really wanted that podium. But sometimes it just doesn't go your way. But that's the love of racing, and he's going to experience that a lot, not just with the virtual world, but the real world. And for a driver of his age, it's very surprising to see him so mature and so condemned about when he's had a bad result. He can just be very calm about it, be very thoughtful, and pick himself up and get himself through the low points of any racing career, because we're always gonna have those low points. But Daniel Heaps, he seems to be on a bit of a high at the moment because this is definitely going to be a win to remember as he clinches his first win of this campaign, if he can hold on for 1 minute.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? He glanced the wall while you were talking, and it doesn't seem to have dishevelled the car at all. But I love your turn of phrase. I think in race 1 you said that Potter was poodling and Daniel Heaps is cruising. And I'll tell you what, these drivers will probably argue that point with you, because if you take it easy, you're going to have someone like Jack Smith on you. But I get what you're saying. It's not... What you're saying is that it's not the huge pressure environment when you've got that lead, the lead that we saw, that we've seen Daniel Heaps get here. Of course, Thomas Potter didn't have a huge lead in race number 1, and he has done well to get back up into P4 here. But Daniel Heaps has driven superbly in this system that we have with the reverse grids to, make the most of where he started. He had a good, clean, fair race with Catherine Potter. The race came to him a little bit with the contact. We saw Catherine involved, didn't we, in lap 2? I think it was with was it Lee Pearcey? I think no, it wasn't Lee Pearcey, was it? He was involved with, but she was involved in a little bit of contact on lap 2, and that just stretched the lead a little bit for Daniel Heaps. But that by no means gave him the advantage that he's got now. He's continued to work away with his Porsche, and the complexion of the championship changing here as well. 51 seconds to go. So we've gone from 4 Ferrari wins to a different circuit and 2 Porsche wins today here at Valencia. So it's a completely different set of results that we're seeing here. And from one driver dominance to two different winners. And that's exactly what the VRRC Championship is all about, particularly where we get the reverse grid scenario, that it does afford someone a chance they might not have had before. Daniel Heaps is quick. He's perfectly capable of getting a pole position and leading a fastest off the front race, but he's taken what he had to work with in this one. And 14 seconds left on the clock. And Daniel Heaps is, I think, closing in. And apologies for not being 100% over this, but I'm pretty sure on for his first VRRC win. He has had podium before, and unless I've missed one, I don't have my list of VRRC race wins with me, but he is on his way. 6 seconds remaining on the clock for Daniel Heaps. Oh, in fact, it was over that, so he's on the last lap, isn't it? So the clock's actually ticking up now. So the clock has run down. This is the last lap for Daniel. And I always get confused with that. The clock ticks down, and when it gets past 0, it then starts ticking up into overtime, as it were. But Daniel Heaps, look at this. Absolutely superb stuff. Heads down towards the line and will take the win here and rightly celebrates. Daniel Heaps does it. It's a win for Ireland. Congratulations, Daniel Heaps. Jack Smith gets P2. It was only 3 seconds down at the end. Rich Hayden will complete the podium. We'll get a chance to talk to Rich Hayden a little bit later on. So well done to Rich on taking that 3rd position. Thomas Potter will take 4th. So well done, Thomas. Great recovery. Alex Walker is in 5th, and Christian Gillian, an excellent 6th position for Christian, equaling his best of the championship. Might have been in line for driver of the day, Christian. If he'd have got maybe a 5th, perhaps we might have got that, but drove superbly, having that battle earlier on. So anyway, where were we on the results? Thomas Potter 4th, Alex Walker 5th, Christian Gillian 6th, Andy Carroll in 7th from Lee Piercy. Catherine Potter will come home in 9th place. We did lose a couple of drivers, sadly, maybe with outages, and we'll try and catch up on that. Certainly fill you in next week on what happened to Oliver and the likes. But that's the rundown of our finishers here for race 2 at Valencia, and we'll have an interview with our 3 podium drivers in just a couple of minutes. We sometimes have a little bit of a natter while the adverts are on, and we're kind of muted from the outside world. But Rich Hayden just said to me that his brain is full after that race. Appropriately, we're going to talk to Rich first because he was 3rd in the race. Rich, what a race that was, and you kept us entertained with Jack Smith for quite a while there.
I tell you what, I tried my hardest to keep him behind me. I think he stopped a lap later than me, so he had an extra lap of life in his tyres, and I just started to make too many mistakes, and I could see him biding his time. He tried a couple of cheeky little dives. I think he outbroke himself on one occasion as well, but we managed to just bang doors, which is all good racing. But yeah, that was hard work. I am a bucket of sweat.
Oh, that's a lovely image, isn't it? how hard do you become on yourself? Because I made the point in the commentary, and I don't know whether you guys
Yeah.
get to listen to it or whether you switch us off, and you'd be perfectly justified to switch us off. But how hard do you become on yourself? If I mean, would you legislate against yourself in a judicial?
Absolutely, yeah. In fact, I'm to ensure that there are no issues. I'm more stringent on myself. Sorry, than other drivers. I'm doing this for the fun of it. I haven't raced in any series for such a long time because obviously I've been doing the broadcast with you for a while, and I just wanted to get to a point where I started to enjoy it again by doing some racing. So. It doesn't matter to me whether I'm last or first, as long as I have a good race. So, if there's any 50-50s, I will rule in the other driver's favour if I'm involved.
That's decent of you. And I know from a commentary point of view, if I've got friends that I'm commentating on or people that I know better, I tend to back off of talking about them. So actually sometimes, whilst we tell people to come and talk to the commentators, don't get to know us too well because you'll get talked about less because what you don't want to do is go on about people too much. So I do actually try and do that. That's a really good point. And I think you enjoyed it though. You enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when Jack was behind me. Even though it was, like I said, my mind was full. Just trying to figure out where he was going to go for me on the next corner or after the next straight or whatever. I was trying to figure it out, and I just couldn't because he was trying everything. And I was putting my car in the middle of the road on the side of the track. I was putting it everywhere, trying to get him to put him off, but. He got me in the end. He just pushed me to the point where my tyres were overheating and I was down to about 60% grip on the rears. So I just couldn't get much traction coming out of the slow corners, and he got me on that.
Absolutely brilliant. Let's have a word with the man himself. Well done, Rich, and thanks for entertaining us with that one.
Thanks.
And second position then, Jack Smith. So it wasn't to be a win tonight, but two good races though, I guess.
Surprisingly, way more fun than winning. So it was.
It can be though, can't it? Yeah.
It was great fun. I thought it was the two little incidences. I have no idea what happened. I just got tagged around, and then I think we were side by side with Alex. I think I must have hit a curb or something weird, and my car just sort of pinged up a bit and then spun out again. So yeah, from last to first like twice. Well, not even first, last to second, I guess. Twice in that race. So it was great fun battling through, and then a little strategy from Rich there when we came out side by side on pit exit. It was a bit leery, but yeah, that was a good laugh. It was trying to figure my way past Rich. I don't know what happened like halfway through the race, but I'd lost like all my brakes. I don't know where they'd went, but I'd have to brake like 50 meters earlier or something silly.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I kept nearly going into the back of Rich. I was like, I'm full. I cannot go any harder on my brake pedal. My leg is hurting. How hard I was hitting it. It's ridiculous.
I'll tell you exactly what it is.
It's
I know
the
exactly.
brake ducts.
It's brake ducts. Yeah, I had mine open.
Yeah, mine were fully closed, so yeah, that probably will do it.
Yeah.
But it didn't make a difference in the other rounds, which is why I was like, oh, it'll be fine on this one. And then you feel it. So yeah, you live and you learn. But there you go. I was just trying to figure that and getting past Rich at the same time, which is a bit tricky to juggle, but we did it in the end. So yeah.
Yeah, it was good. And typically it was like I was looking at the time. I've got my timing screen actually set some way away from my main screen because I've had some technical difficulties myself tonight. And I looked away at the timing screen to check on a gap or whatever, and I looked back and you got the lead, so I totally missed it. But luckily Charlie saw it, so that was good. But that's the life of the commentator. And Charlie, you'll have that happening to you at various times. But Jack, I think championship lead obviously intact with 2 good podiums as well, which is good. Shame about Oliver tonight, but there we go. But well done, and we'll look forward to seeing you at Monza. Have you done much at Monza or on the Monza configurations?
Yeah, done a fair bit. Did like F3 and stuff, so it'd be very different in GT3s. But I'm sure it'd be it's a track they I know they race a lot at, so I'm sure it'd be good for the stream and everything. So yeah, it'd be a good race. Just thanks again for the broadcast and stuff. And I'm watching it back at the end of an evening. And I'm sure this one's going to be really fun to watch back. So yeah, thank you for.
I hope so. I hope you enjoy it, and thanks, mate. And well done, and we'll catch up with you next week. So second place man, Jack Smith. Well done, Jack.
Thank you very much. I'll just quickly shout out to the sponsors. Got to do it. So,
Yep.
Hop Cavern, everyone at Hop Cavern, mum, stepdad, everyone who's watching. Ollie, if he's watching, I'm sorry to hear he had a disconnection. I think is what's happened. So he's had a full-on PC crash, which is a shame. And yeah, everyone at Sherburn Rubber, Simon for Motor Service, DK Power, Dave himself. Thank you for all the opportunities, and yeah, we'll see you at the next one.
Yeah, the presentation night, by the way, is at the Hop Cavern in the summer.
Yeah, that's where we reveal
go.
the livery. I give a little speech.
That would be something, wouldn't it? We could do a virtual one if we don't actually go there for real. But yeah, it's definitely on the visit list. Anyway, without further ado, thank you very much, chat. Let's get on to our winner because I've been talking to everyone else. But we have a race winner. Many congratulations, Daniel Heaps. How are you, mate?
Great, that was a savage race. That was just, compared to first race, it was a lot better, and I'm really happy with the result.
Yeah, timed it absolutely. Am I right in saying that's your first VRRC win? It's your first win with us?
Yeah, it's my first ever one. It's my first ever one.
Fantastic. Did those last 10 minutes, were they the longest 10 minutes of your racing life?
Probably. I was just trying to not to spin out because I know for my car anyway, I find it hard to keep it in control, so I was just turned up to traction control all the way. I was like, don't spin out.
So we'll come back to the racing today in a moment. But were you out at Kirkiston at the weekend? Did I read that wrong, or am I going back a couple of weeks?
Yeah. So I was in Kyrgyzstan last month. I was in the junior minis.
Right.
I stopped the drifting and I went full on track racing. So
Okay.
I'm 6th place right now in the Irish Junior Championship in the minis.
That means we're going to see you in the UK Mini Championship next year with Toka then.
Hopefully, maybe. You never know.
That would be. I'll tell you what, that would be really good. I don't know if they're going to do a scholarship next year, but maybe talk to Jam Sport about doing their scholarship for the Coopers, because that would be fantastic to get you over and into that championship. What was the different? What happened? What was the story for race 1 tonight?
So it was chaos at the start. Everyone spun out, and then I got behind Larmy and I broke too late, and I went into the back of him. And then I was still in third, luckily, and then into the last corner, Rich had a little bit of a wobble, so I had nowhere to go and went into the side of him. And then he still stayed straight, luckily, so we were going down side by side down the straight, and then into the first proper corner, there's a bit of contact and I spun out.
Okay, got you. That's where I was coming from here as well, just to get the story on that one, and we'll come on to race 2 in a minute. But with your first win, I think you've got to be our driver of the day, Daniel. So many congratulations on the win and for being our driver of the day.
Nope. The rewards won't wait. No.
The only thing is you've got to do it again now. So the point I made in the commentary was that although it was a reverse grid race, we've seen you on the podium and have sort of front running pace anyway, so we know that you're capable of taking a win. How much confidence will that now give you to to take that forward into qualifying at Monza and so on and so forth?
Well, hopefully I do well in Monza. I don't know what these cars are like on the straights. I haven't properly tried it since I didn't do Las Vegas, so we'll see how it goes. And yeah, I'll have to start practicing now. Have to keep up the results.
What does your... No, I think someone said, because we missed you at the first round because you're working, so you're doing an apprenticeship or something at the minute.
Oh yeah, I'm doing engineering course. Well, kind of like rebuilding heads and rebuilding bottom ends of engines and all.
Oh, are you? So is that with a known engine builder or?
It's Icetronics. It's called. It's in the place in Ireland. Loads of people get engines done by them around Ireland. They're well known.
That must be fascinating to learn all that stuff.
Yeah, it's deadly. I actually just came back from it earlier. I ran into the shower and I just came into the driver's briefing about 1 minute early.
Oh really? So it's that sort of tight. I mean, this is the thing, isn't it, with evening racing? I mean, weekends generally, obviously, if you're racing in a championship weekend, you might get to the racetrack late on a Friday or whatever. But if you're racing on an evening, you've really got to, many people have to belt home, don't they, to get out and do this. So it's quite a big commitment doing evening stuff. So That's pretty. You got a busy week ahead? Are you going to get much testing in, or
Oh,
busy working?
on Friday I'm going out to Mondello. I am again in a tight bar, so we'll see how that goes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
That'll be good.
And I think the 18th of June there's some sort of sprint going on, so we might have the mini down there or my micro.
All right. And when's the next mini round that you're racing in?
The next mini round's in Mondello, and that's the 6th of July, I think.
Right. So you've got a little bit of a break from that, but you're car related all the other times. And again, going back to just sort of finishing off with that second race. Nice clean start. Had a Cat Potter did well at the start as well, and you two raced really fairly through those first few corners, and then there was a bit of an incident, but that didn't. I don't think that necessarily contributed to your win. You were away and you paced it well, and obviously the pit stop went well too. Was there anything you feel you might have done better, or are you really happy?
No, I'm really happy with how the strategy came on, and I was happy when I came out of the pit and I saw that Rich and Jack were racing as well. So it's like it's not my time to go. It's my time to go.
Oh, it's absolutely brilliant for us. Great for VRRC that we've got another winner to add to our list. So very well earned. Daniel, congratulations, mate, and look forward to seeing you again very soon. And well done on the win and being driver of the day.
Thank you.
Well done, mate. Safe travels, and look forward to catching up with you next time, which is round 4 at Monza. Taking the championship lead to Monza is Jack Smith on 104 points. Oliver Gibson second on 82. Thomas Potter third on 72, with Lee Pearcey in fourth ahead of Andy Carroll and Chris Blakey. Daniel Heaps, the man you just heard from, is up into 7th ahead of Scott Bugner. We are now going to run a We Want Scott Bugner Back petition. So send a postcard or an email to Scott Bugner saying we want him back on the grid. Charlie Ellis, did you enjoy your first commentary with us? We did. We enjoyed having you here.
I didn't just enjoy it, I loved it. That was some brilliant racing. Well done to everyone who was in there. Daniel Heaps in that last one, brilliant job there to claim his first victory. Bigging up for the Irish, so good job by him. Yeah, it's been brilliant. It's been brilliant to be alongside you as well. It's been something we've been working on for quite a while. I feel quite special now doing this with you. So yeah, thank you for having me here, and hopefully we'll do some more stuff together.
I hope so. We're lucky to have you, mate, and thank you for for joining us. Next week, Monza, and Becky Aparicio will be joining us as well, which will give us another dimension to our commentary. And we love inviting people along, and it is by invitation. So nobody comes and asks us to do it. We actually approach people. So Charlie, well done. I'm sure we'll do it again. Thanks very much. Well done to all our racers, and wherever you are, thank you for watching. Have a lovely rest of evening and lovely rest of week. Be nice to each other, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Between the two of them,
The inside of coats,
Martin gets too heavily involved.
and that's Whitehead and Coates.